Welcome to Business Finance, BFIN 322. This will be a little introduction to the class, maybe kind of the stuff I might go over in a classroom setting a little bit, just to make sure everybody is comfortable with it and kind of knows what's going on. So first, of course, you need to sign into or get into the Brightspace or D2L site and click on Business Finance. I'm going to switch this so that I'm showing it as a student, or looking at it as like a student, so that it'll be the same thing that you guys see. Okay. See, of course, I got a little funny up on the top, but then you can come down and there's the syllabus. The textbook website, and I put that in there as a link because there are some things that you can download from that website that might be helpful as you go through some of the problems and whatnot. These are just some articles that might be kind of interesting. I sometimes throw out some personal finance things in addition to business finance things as we're going through the class. I kind of have Project 1 and Project 2 up here, and I'll talk about those in a bit. Project 1 will be for the first part of the semester, and Project 2 for the second part of the semester. And I'll talk about those in a bit, and certainly more as we go along. And then you get into the weeks, and basically this just says, week 1 starting now, what's financial management, et cetera, and tells you can come up here to the content section. Click on that and come to week 1, okay, which I've clicked on. So here we are for week 1. What do I have? Not an awful lot. We don't have an assignment yet, okay, and one of the main reasons is week 1 is a lot of review of accounting and whatnot. So you ought to be able to go through the assignment. I don't believe I have any time limits on the quizzes, so you can get in, and there might be a built-in time limit of a couple hours, but plenty of time. Okay, it's open book. It's not designed to try to trick anybody or fool anybody. I want you to open up the book and kind of understand and read through the material, answer the questions, and get 100% on all the quizzes. Might not be the case as we go through the quizzes. They'll all be open book, and they'll all be, I think, unlimited time. But they might get a little more difficult as they go along. But please feel free. Please do it. Get your book open. You might at least scan through the chapters, so it'll make it a little quicker when you do the quiz. But then you can click on the quiz and go through it and answer the questions. Everybody should be able to do pretty well. Then we do get into some assignments here when we get into chapter 3. Okay, and you'll note chapter 2 still just has a quiz, but you get into chapter 3, which is going to be next week, and we'll have both a quiz and an assignment. Okay, and when it's a Word doc, that's what the actual assignment is, or tells you what it is. These will be problems out of the book. Okay. And then the Chapter 3 assignment here is the Dropbox, what we used to call the Dropbox. Now they call it assignment, I think, just to make us confused. I don't know, but maybe I think for some reason or another, I think because there's a company maybe called Dropbox, they had to change the name, so they changed it to assignment. I wish they'd have called it something different, but oh well. You'll also note that down here then there are videos, okay, and these videos they're short, okay, they address individual problems that are going to correspond roughly with the problems that are in the assignment, okay. I've had students, oftentimes they'll either get 2 screens going or split their screen, and they'll have the video going on half the screen, and they'll have Excel opened, which, by the way, I want you to use Excel, and they'll have Excel opened in the other half of the screen, and while I'm doing the sample problem, they're doing the regular problem, and that's fine. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, you must use Excel for these problems, and you must show your work. And one of the things that I mean by that, when I say show your work, when we get at Excel, worksheet open is that, if you come down here and you put some kind of an equation in here, and some of these equations will get more complicated than this, obviously, but if I, equals 2 plus 5 or something like that, okay, so I can see the number there, right? But if I click on that cell, I'd better be able to see the equation up here, okay? That's meaningful. That means hopefully that you're doing the work, okay, and not just putting out the answers. So make sure you're using Excel. Make sure you show your work. Okay, you'll see the weeks are all pretty well set out. We should be able to follow that pretty well. I'll post this. I probably have an old video here of an introduction. It probably is. I don't know. It doesn't show a video, but it could be something. But anyhow, I'll post this video there under introduction. I'll also send you out an email, obviously, on that. Okay, I've got project 1, project 2, different things going on there. There are some videos here. Oops, I got to change the due dates, obviously, on those, but those will be sometime in the future. We'll get going. The thing for project 1 that you might want to do kind of now to get started thinking about is just this, the business idea, and that's not a graded assignment here, but you'll put it in there. Pretty simple. Pick a business that you think you want to do the financial documentation for. Keep it simple, okay? It'll be easy to scale up if you want to, and what do I mean by that? Well, instead of starting a 7-bay diesel shop or auto shop, let's just start a 1-bay or a shade tree, mechanic shop that we're going to get some tools and whatnot. Instead of buying a location, maybe we're going to rent one. Those types of things, if you keep it more simple, it'll be easier to do this first project, and then scaling that up. Once you get the project down, scaling that up will become relatively easy. Okay, once you get the numbers and you know where they go and you know how to put them in there, if the numbers become bigger, that won't be that difficult. So I would say keep it simple, start small, think of something. If you can scale down, maybe you have in mind a big project, and that's wonderful. I don't want to discourage anybody from that, but if you can scale it down, think about doing that here. When we finish the project, you want to come in and talk about scaling it up. I'd be happy to go through that with anybody. So, okay. You can take a look at that stuff. I'll be sending out, some instructions, and I've got some videos here. I may or may not redo some of those videos, but you can sure look at them because they probably haven't changed from when I last did that, and for sure I'll get those due dates changed. Those are maybe floating a little bit at this point in time, so that should kind of get you going, right? That should give you, oops, I meant to go back to the course home, but that should give you a pretty good idea of what's expected. The first chapter we don't have an assignment. I think actually the last chapter or two we don't have an assignment. In between there's going to be assignments for every chapter, and there are quizzes for every chapter. So, you can work ahead a little bit on those. That's no problem. I wouldn't work ahead too far on the assignments, because I could change those a little bit, and I've got some assignments in there that aren't from the book, some that I've thrown out, and I probably will change those a little bit. That's my intent anyhow at this point in time. So get started. Email me if you have any questions. I didn't go over the syllabus, and I probably should. Maybe I will really quickly. Sorry. I was signing out, but now I'll get you all goofed up. I'll just go through it really quickly. You guys can read all this stuff here. I use everything. We use Excel. You don't really need this, business analyst. I used to use that in the class quite a bit. Not so much anymore. I've got one. I love it. I use it all the time. Okay, for me it's kind of a go-to tool, but I've used it my whole life in banking and up here at the college, whereas you guys, everything that we want to do you can do in Excel, and that's pretty available for everybody. Your text is this, Foundations of Financial, 15th edition. It should be old enough that you should be able to get used ones for a pretty good price. The projects and the grading. Here we go. So quizzes, assignments, and discussions, and we won't probably have any discussions unless I get a wild hair or something. But the quizzes and assignments are going to account for 40% of your grade. Project 1 and Project 2, I used to have them equal at 30%, but came up with some new templates for Project 1 that made it too simple. Okay, and so I actually reduced it and put a little more emphasis on Project 2, and I've been pushing Project 2 a little bit more. So that's kind of the breakdown then of the grading. So you have a rough idea. With that, I think I'll go ahead and sign out at this point in time, and please feel free to email me or give me a call if you have any questions. That information's all on the syllabus. Thanks.